Well, diddle me silly and call me a tosser. Has the world completely gone mad over the past couple of weeks? Not that the global sanity meter was doing much better in 2024 or anything, but seeing how the circus act that is Western foreign policy has now begun reenacting scenes directly from the playbook of authoritarianism, one can't be blamed for wanting to pre-order the latest edition of bullshit detectors given all the bollocks we are seeing in what qualifies as journalism these days. Still, my one consolation in this depressing climate of hypocrisy and misinformation is the fact that a high-speed collision with reality often don't work out for those living inside glass houses. But then again, what the fuck do I know? I'm just a panda who plays video games. So anyways, here's the Gunk, a space adventure platforming game about fighting pollution on an alien planet. Keeping true to our promise of creating an Orwellian future where a single tank of gas is worth significantly more than a human life, our story begins with Ronnie and Becky, two plucky spacefaring whippersnappers whose adventures land them on a distant planet abundant with resources and clean energy. Apparently, the cost of living crisis has gotten so out of hand these days that your only chance to refuel is to venture out into the cold vacuum of space. Having managed to avoid the usual tradition of crash landing onto the planet as one might normally expect from these kind of games, the two quickly discover evidence of an advanced alien civilization, and thus is thrown into an epic adventure that will quickly elevate them from their humble roles as space janitors to a pair of interstellar emissaries tasked with asserting regime change of an entire alien species. Oh, for fuck's sakes, not this crap again. So here's how this bollocks works. Naively immature, self-righteous hypocrite and immortal physics-defying sorcerer, Ronnie, that is you, is given the right to plunder anything not nailed directly to the floor under the universal law of finders keepers. Some may consider this to be a blatant act of imperialism, but hey, those car repayments aren't gonna pay themselves. The planet, however, is a fickle mistress and is also home to a mysterious sentient goo whose very presence disrupts communications, stunts the local plant life, and apparently is the only hurdle standing in the way of creating a lush green jungle world rich with vital resources. Thus, it is your manifested destiny to clean up all the planet's uncooperative inhabitants and drastically alter the ecosystem of an entire alien world despite not having the slightest clue of its natural environment or ecology. Now, it must be said, the game really don't think very much of you. Not only does it get off by smugly parodying the same surface level talking points over and over, like it's speaking to a room full of dyslexic 4-year-olds, but the level designers plainly refuse to put together anything more complicated than the typical push button to continue forward puzzle, as if they expected the game's audience to consist entirely of people who would jam square pegs into round holes. Yet as much as the gameplay bored the living tits off me, what really rubbed me the wrong way was the gratuitous effort made to try and Disneyfy the game's psychotically evil message. After venturing into the labyrinths of an alien superstructure, our heroes learn that a sentient gunk is in fact a toxic byproduct of the planet's industry, which began under the encouragement of a charismatic leader with the pretense to improve everybody's lives as well as to prevent a major famine. Confronted with the news of this entirely relatable and extremely human issue, our two protagonists reach the same conclusion that the only sensible way out of this mess is to orchestrate a planetary coup, destroy their technology, and effectively send these tree-hating aliens all the way back to the Stone Age where they can live happily as one with nature or some other poppycock. Now, this is the kind of pretentious garbage that drags bad writing right out from beneath the cesspits of retard land and straight into the morally bankrupt territory of US foreign policy. So why don't we take a moment and break it all down? Why the fuck do these two Muppets think they know what's best for these aliens? Like seriously, we barely spent a day on this planet, we know nothing about their political structure, their social challenges, or even their biology. Yet you two knuckleheads just assume you know what's best for their own interests? What if all these plants were toxic to them? I mean, there are plenty of naturally occurring elements on Earth that are extremely harmful to us. Can you imagine if some twat from another planet came to Earth and thought, yikes, look at all this delicious arsenic these humans have got locked up in sealed containers. No, I better release them all into the atmosphere because I know what's best. Like, it would be a bloody act of war for God's sakes. See, this is the kind of stupid shit that could have been avoided had our two protagonists not been a bunch of immature wankers and were instead capable of having an intelligent discussion for once in their lives. Let's say these two bozos really did want to help. If that's the case, then instead of jumping straight to regicide, why not first try diplomacy? Like, how about you request an audience with their leader, establish an embassy, and set up a stream of humanitarian aid from back home? But suppose we couldn't trust Earth's current government, because it's headed by a sociopath who's drooling at the very idea of taking advantage of another culture during their time of weakness. If so, then at the very least, you could share the gun cleaning technology you've been using this whole time and give them a chance to manage their own pollution problem on their own. Even if you assume that violence is the best course of action, what exactly makes you think that overthrowing a regime you don't like will automatically make things better, as opposed to creating the usual chaos we tend to see whenever the Americans overthrow somebody they don't approve? From what I've gathered, the aliens were using this technology to avoid a potential famine. So what happens now that you've burnt it all down? Like, you do understand there is no peaceful or civilized way of deciding who gets to starve to death, right? And this horrific war crime is made only worse with the insultingly tone-deaf remark during the game's final cutscene. So having not be quite satisfied with setting a civilization back hundreds if not thousands of years, our smart hero has to go out of her way to throw out an idiotic last-minute quip about how there is nothing wrong with living in the wilderness. Bitch, are you for real? You two hypocrites came here to pay off your damn car. Why don't you try living like prehistoric Neanderthals and see how you like it? Putting all this together and what you're left with is what I call the anti-Star Trek message, where rather than aiming for a society that values diplomacy, self-determination and reason, we instead resort to violence at the first sign of trouble. Like, what exactly is your game trying to say here? That we know what's best for everybody, so it's my way or the highway? Or that the world is full of good guys and bad guys, and since we're the good guys, we can do no wrong? Like, that's an incredibly naive and dangerous way to look at the world. Frankly, if you're the kind of person that preaches this kind of crap, then you have more in common with an imperialistic neocon than a liberal progressive.
You're free! Free to live your life as nature intended!